From the studios of NBC 12 and ABC 25, this is First Coast News at 6.
It's been nearly 6 months since toddler Lonzie Barton was last seen.
But tonight, significant movement in the case surrounding Lonzie's disappearance. Lana Barton pleaded guilty on 2 different charges this morning. She could face up to 5 years in prison on 2 counts of child neglect and a year in jail for lying to police. Barton could also testify against her boyfriend, Ruben Ebron, in a trial set to take place next week in Jacksonville.
And we have live team coverage tonight. Clark Foraker has the latest on Lana Barton's plea deal and what it means for the case. We're going to begin with Brittany Dion, who was in court for Ruben Ebron's hearing this afternoon, and they are going to allow several pieces of evidence to be used in his case. Brittany?
Well, that's right, Shannon. One of those pieces of evidence is DNA evidence found inside of Ruben Ebron's apartment. The prosecution said that there was blood left on clothing, carpet, as well as a blanket inside of that apartment that they want to use during the trial next week. Now, the defense says that that evidence has nothing to do with the child neglect charges that Ruben Ebron is facing. But the judge sided with the prosecution, saying that they will be able to use that evidence as long as they can prove that the blood ended up on those items around the time that Lonzie Barton went missing. Now, another issue on the table today was the defense using a 5-year-old little girl as a witness, we believe to be the little sister of Lonzie Barton. The prosecution says that that little girl is incompetent and would not be a good witness for either side. They called a child advocate to the stand who says that testifying would not be in the child's best interest. Take a listen.
I don't believe that she would act appropriately in the courtroom setting, and I'm not sure that she would be reliable with what she shares either.
Now, the defense also wanted to stop the prosecution from being able to call Ruben Ebron's neighborhood a high crime area. You know, he lived in the Ravenswoods apartments, and they don't want them to be able to, I guess, taint the jury by calling his neighborhood a high crime area. The judge did side with the defense on that issue, saying that the prosecution would not be able to call the neighborhood that. Now, the motions hearing has been continued until tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. But earlier today, Lana Barton was in court with a plea deal. Clark Foraker will send it over to him for those details.
Yeah, Brittany, Lana Barton pleading guilty to charges of child neglect and providing unlawful information to police. Of course, that brings up the big question: what does Lana Barton know, and why do state prosecutors want to get her on the stand to testify against Ruben Ebron, their chief suspect in the disappearance of little Lonzie Barton? Now, as part of this plea agreement, Lana will not be getting a reduced sentence, but she will have to provide what is being called a truthful testimony in the trial against Ruben Ebron, which is still scheduled to begin next week. Important because the jury will have to be convinced that her testimony is truthful. After all, she did plead guilty to providing false information to police. And after the trial today, I spoke with a legal expert about how that could impact the jury.
I would say she's frustrated that she does not know where her son is.
Based on the way everything went down, I don't think there's going to have a lot, but it could be simply just statements that he has made to her that are inculpatory that could get the state over the edge that they need to.
That last word there coming from Richard Kuritz, who's an attorney not associated with this case, but he says that having Lana Barton on the witness stand in the trial against Ruben Ebron is a big deal and certainly is changing the plans for the defense. He says that if he was the attorney on this case, it would be a big deal for their plan going forward. Lana Barton will be sentenced in February. She faces up to a possibility of 5 years behind bars. Live downtown, I'm Clark Foraker, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
Thank you very much. Now, continuing our coverage, 166 days and counting. That's how long it's been since anyone has seen little Lonzie Barton. It is still a mystery about what happened to the little boy with blue eyes. In our team coverage tonight, we take a look back at where this high-profile case first began. Friday, July 24th, 2015, approximately 2:20 in the morning. JSO got a phone call about a stolen car near a Southside apartment complex with a 21-month-old boy named Lonzie Barton inside. An Amber Alert was sent out and a massive search for the blue-eyed boy began.
This is what we're asking in the door-to-door canvas. Look around your house. Look in your shed behind your house. If you have a tarp covering something in your backyard, look under that. Look anywhere that a 21-month-old could hide.
Police eventually found the car, but no sign of Lonzie. Then a break in the case. Ruben Ebron, the man who police say was caring for the little boy, was arrested and named as the prime suspect in his disappearance.
The thing that will solve this case is by Ruben Ebron cooperating with the police and telling us where Lonzie is.
The search for Lonzie continued for weeks. Crews from all over the First Coast looked into retention ponds throughout the city's south side. August 3rd, 2015, another lead in this case. Police released surveillance video. A man who appears to be running away from the car that was initially reported stolen on the morning of Lonzie's disappearance. Chief Tom Hackney at JSO said that man was Ruben Ebron.
Ruben, you're building this house of cards with a losing hand. I'm stacking the deck with the truth in this case.
2 weeks later, August 18th, another arrest. This time, the child's mother, Lana Barton. The woman who once pleaded for her child to return home safely now faced charges of child neglect and lying to police. Lana and her husband, Chris Barton, were in handcuffs again, this time in Baker County on felony drug charges. Those cases are ongoing. Now, Lana and Chris Barton are set to face a judge again on those drug charges we were talking about on January 19th.
And a lot of you have been talking about this on social media, on Facebook in particular. I want to read you a couple of comments here. One from Beth. She said she, presumably she's talking about Lana here, needs to take responsibility for the death of her child, period. Testifying against Ruben should not give her a reduced sentence. She says, how terrible. So I encourage you to jump in the conversation right now on the First Coast News Facebook page.
The 5th Congressional District is under attack. That's coming from Representative Corinne Brown. We've learned tonight that she was served with a federal subpoena this week. Brown was at a barbecue dinner and political strategy session Monday when federal agents served her with a subpoena. Our news partner, the Florida Times Union, says longtime political aide Vaughn Alexander was visited by federal authorities that same day. Now, details surrounding the subpoena are not being released at this time. We'll have much more on the story tonight on First Coast News at 11 o'clock. But Congresswoman Brown did have this to say in a statement today. In part, it says, quote, "It is not surprising that every time we go through the redistricting process, some tangential evidence or investigation comes up." Now, new at 6 o'clock tonight, attorneys have released police dash cam video of a woman who died after she was forced to leave a Central Florida hospital. In the video, Barbara Dawson walks up to a police cruiser. Attorneys say you can hear that Dawson was in a panic, telling an officer that she couldn't breathe. An officer arrived at Liberty Calhoun Hospital to remove the 57-year-old woman. She later collapsed in the parking lot a few feet away from the patrol car after she was arrested. Attorneys say they do plan to file neglect charges against the hospital.
Faith and community leaders gathered today at Florida State Senator Audrey Gibson's district office to talk about climate change. They talked about specifically how it impacts Jacksonville. And at the meeting, they encouraged political leaders to take action and help the country achieve the more than 50% less energy by 2030. First Coast News has learned that a major study about erosion along the First Coast is about to be released, and that information could reveal whether critically eroded beaches in St. Johns County will receive sustained help from the federal government.
From our Southern Bureau tonight, Jessica Clark reports on the coastline and how it could be in for some changes.
The winds were blowing Wednesday outside Vivian Browning's real estate office in Volano Beach.
I'm not a fan of northeasters.
Browning is also a community leader in Volano.
But the oceanfront owners over these last years have had to consider erosion.
But she says the beach by Volano Town Center has fared well when it comes to erosion.
This is showing how much natural vegetation we have, plus the beach. But here's the jetty, so that helps the town center, which is this area right here.
Still, Browning says a little further north up to South Ponte Vedra, there are erosion problems, such as homes very close to the edge of eroding dunes.
I see once you get on up here how thin it is.
St. Johns County is eagerly awaiting the results of an erosion study by the Army Corps of Engineers.
We anticipate the Army Corps of Engineers releasing preliminary findings sometime in 2016.
The Army Corps of Engineers confirmed for First Coast News the information from the 3-year study is expected to be released in February. The study looked at South Ponte Vedra Beach, Volano, and Summer Haven, the St. Johns County beaches the state deemed critically eroded.
We look forward to what what they're going to say.
Because what the study says could spell out what the feds plan to do to stop or ease erosion at these beaches. The plans could possibly include dumping tons of sand, creating bigger beaches, like the beach renourishment project that St. Augustine Beach undergoes every so many years. Browning is glad her part of St. Johns County is getting some attention.
I think they have given consideration by including us in the study. We're thankful for that, to be in the study, and we'll look at what the results will be.
And those results could mean big changes for St. Johns County beaches down the road. Meanwhile, the winds and waves continue to pound those same beaches. In Volano, Jessica Clark, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
All right, Jessica, thanks so much. Now, once the preliminary findings from the study are released in February, a public comment period will be open to hear what you might have to say about plans to tackle erosion.
Well, so many questions regarding mental health and gun violence. We're going to take a closer look at a few topics with a major impact on the First Coast and the country.
Plus, have you bought your Powerball ticket yet? Do you plan to? The frenzy continues. We're talking about a jackpot worth $500 million. $500 million. It's up for grabs tonight.
And you heard Jessica talk about it. The nor'easter is now winding up into a Bahamian storm, but that's headed east. We now look west for our weekend weather. We'll check it out for you in just a few minutes.